Hi everybody. Today's project that we're going to be highlighting is in the area of arts and crafts and using fiber. And we are going to be learning how to weave today, and we're going to be using a very simple loom made out of cardboard. These are some examples of some of the ones that I've made, and you can use really all kinds of different yarns or even fabric or thread. This one's got some really fun things in it. So just whatever pieces that you have laying around, you can add beads to them. You can really have a lot of fun with this project. So I'm going to show you how to do it step by step. I've also created this lesson plan for you, and it has a couple of great resources with some pictures as well, in case you need to go back and remember something that we talked about in the video. So the first thing that you're going to need to do is you're going to need to find something to make your loom out of. Cardboard, a paper plate, any really heavy cardstock, any paper that has just a little bit of structure to it. Even if it's a cardboard piece that has like a crease in it, you can still use that. It's fine. It won't bother you at all once you get started. So once you have your paper, your cardboard, then you need to find something to create a circle. Now, I just took a dinner plate, I turned it over, I drew a circle around it, and then I cut it out. You can use whatever size you want. You can use whatever you want to make your circle. But once you have your circle, then you just cut it out, and then we're going to make notches around the edge of our circle. So I just used something that I could measure with, and I put 19 notches around my circle. Okay, you want it to be an odd number. Now you can actually, if you're going to make several of these, make yourself a template. This has 19 marks. And so I know I can lay it down on top of my cardboard and I can mark my marks, and then I can go ahead and take the scissors and cut just a little bit of a slit at each one of those marks. Maybe about a ½ inch. It doesn't need to be very deep because that's just going to hold your yarn in place. So once you have all your notches cut out and you have your yarn or whatever you're going to loom with, tape just the end of it to the back and then bring it over into that first notch. Now this is what we call creating your warp. So your warp is actually the pieces that are going to be on your loom. This cardboard piece becomes your loom, and then this is what you're going to weave onto your warp. Okay, so you're going to go down, just go straight across, and what you want is you want one more notch on the right side than you have on the left. So I'm going to count to make sure I have that. So I have 9 to the right of my first yarn, and I have 8 to the left, so that's exactly what I want. Then you're going to take this and you're just going to go on the back over to the next notch over and come back through across the front, and then you're going to crisscross it so you have an X. You're going to do the same thing. Go to the neighbors, run your yarn through there, crisscross it back across. And you're going to continue to do this all the way around. Go to the neighbor, crisscross across, go to the neighbors, crisscross across, go to the neighbor, back across, neighbor, across, neighbor, across, neighbor, across, neighbor. So now I have this one piece that's dangling right here. So this actually becomes what you start your weave with. And that weaving part is called the weft. Okay, so there's some new terminology for you. So you're just going to go to the center and you're going to start weaving in an over and under pattern. Now I usually just go a couple at a time, And especially at the beginning, you don't want to weave too tightly, number one, so that you can see what you're doing and watch your pattern develop. But number two, you don't want it to create a big knot in the middle. And so I'm going to go around one time so that I can show you. And you just have to be sure that you go in the same order every time. And you're just going to repeat. Over, under. And I usually just do 2 at a time. Then I'm going to go over, under, over, under, over, under, over, and under, over, and under. So the reason that you have an odd number is because you want to be going over the part that you went under the first time and going under the part you went over the first time or the row before. So I've actually done several rows with this one, and I'll just show you the pattern that develops. And so you're going to reach a point where you're going to want to add a different kind of yarn or more yarn. And so I'm just going to take, and you can really use just about whatever you want to. I'm going to take this yarn and I'm just going to cut a piece of that so that I can then add that to what I've already got started here. And actually I'm just going to tie it in a square knot. And then you can take your scissors and you can cut off the ends. And now we're just going to continue weaving. And when we reach the part where we've joined those together, we're just going to continue to weave, and it will add in our new color. And you can just hide the knot that you made to join those two yarns together in the back of your art project. Now, I have actually seen examples of this where they painted a paper plate, like a white paper plate, Chinette brand or something like that. And maybe they used a circular design and very bright colors. And then they wove over the top of it. And so they didn't weave a very large and didn't fill their loom, but maybe they put 4 or 5 inches on there. And so you have this beautiful art that the plate has become, and then you add the weaving on top of that, and then they can add beads or other embellishments. Sometimes I've even seen feathers. And then the plate becomes part of the art. Now, in this case, where you're weaving on cardboard, you probably are not going to leave your weaving on the plate. And in fact, in these examples that I showed you, I did not leave my weaving on my loom. I took it off. And so I will tell you how we did that. What we did was when we got to the end of where we wanted to stop weaving, whether we filled our loom or not, then we would just slip off this part, cut it in 2, and then tie it around the edge of our weaving. So it actually became part of the art. And again, as I said, you can add beads to that edge. There are some really pretty decorative yarns that you can use. You can experiment with all different kinds of colors and textures. You can make these as large or as small as you want. And you just weave in this over and under pattern all the way around in the circle. Now, we did this project last year at 4-H camp, and many of the kids really enjoyed it and would come down in their free time to weave. And they actually made some beautiful creations. And you can use this same technique with just about anything. We actually used some twigs to create a frame and weaved on the twigs. So you can make it a very natural looking object. You can use lots of colors. You can use 1 or 2 colors. That's entirely your choice. Just whatever you have lying around will work. And so once I get this around where I knotted it, well, that wasn't good. I'll show you. You can see my knot right here. And so now I'm going to basically cover that up with my weaving. And you'll see how those colors come together. Now, weaving, of course, has been around for centuries. You can weave with really just about any type of material. I make baskets. You have to soak your reed so that it's pliable and can be bent. And that's an advantage that you have when you're using fiber like this, yarn and such. You don't have to soak it. You can use it exactly the way it is. So I've added that in there, and you can see it. You can still see a little bit of the tail, and the next row that I go over, that'll be completely hidden, and you won't be able to see exactly where we joined these different yarns together. And so that's really all there is to this project. You go as far out on this as you would like. When you get done, you slip those off, cut them, and then tie them in a square knot, and they'll just end up with a little fringe around the edge of your design. So I hope you have fun learning how to do cardboard circle weaving. I know I've had a lot of fun bringing that to you, and I'll see you next time with another project.